Please be seated. The court is back in session. Ms. Nosatas, I see that your duty counsel is busy, so could you continue testifying without his presence? Yes, I can. I can continue with my statement, President. The chamber is now going to give the floor to the Nunchea defense so that the Nunchea defense may continue with its questions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Only very few questions for you, Madam Civil Party. I only would like to ask you if you've ever heard of either Sosman or his son Matli.
I do not know this person. I don't know if this person is called Sosman or whatever. I have never seen this person, and I have never known this person.
No problem. Do you know, or do you remember any Cham, either from your villages or from your village or from neighboring villages, that had joined the Khmer Rouge or the National Front between 70 and 75? In other words, were there Cham who had joined the revolution that you know?
Yes, there were women and men in the East Zone, but there were not many of them, maybe 1% of the Cham.
Thank you very much, Madam Civil Party. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, the chamber is now going to give the floor to the Que Sampan defense. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning to all of you. Good morning, Ms. Nosatas. My name is Antagise. I am the International Co-Counsel of Que Sampan, and I have a few questions to put to you. First, I would like to focus on 1975 and on the rebellion that which you described to my colleague. You said that you remember that drums were used in your village to call the people to stand up. So do you know someone by the name of Susponyamin? Yes, he was Hakim. And now he's Takim. Yes, I do know him, yes. His name is Sohmin. In our village, we call him Sohmin.
Sospenyamin a témoigné devant cette chambre.
Testified before this chamber on the 8th and 9th of September last, and he spoke about the use of drums within his village, which is village number 5, he said. So does this somehow refresh your memory with regard to the number of the village, the village you were part of?
ចាហ្នឹងហើយខ្ញុំនៅឃុំភូមិស្វាយឃ្លាំងហ្នឹងហើយឃុំស្វាយឃ្លាំងហ្នឹងហើយនៅចាំដែលពេលគេទុងស្គរហ្នឹងខ្ញុំលឺគេទុងស្គរហើយនឹងឃើញមនុស្សរត់រកគ្នាដូចថាអ្នក
Yes, I live in Svai village. I heard them beat the drums, and the people gathered with machetes in order to go fight. And the others and my father were together to go fight. And the women, my mother, my brothers and sisters, in fact, my grandmother, remained at home, but we didn't stay there, in fact. We went to seek shelter elsewhere. Ms. Nosatas, I'm going to try to put specific questions to you, and I'm going to ask you to please answer my questions clearly, because we don't have much time, and it's important that you provide the most precise answers possible. So thank you for this clarification, but my precise question was, if Village 5, as described by Suspanyamin, reminds you of something. Yes, it's indeed Village 5 that he was speaking about. And this does indeed remind me of my village. And do you remember if Sospanyamin was part of the leaders of this rebellion? He said that he was the leader of the rebellion. But I heard him say that only later, afterwards. Back then, I wasn't aware of that. And then he said afterwards that he had been the leader. But when the rebellion happened, I did not exactly know which role he played. I just saw people with machetes, and there was no leader, in fact, back then, because everyone was suffering and everyone was oppressed. Does the name Letvanat ring a bell? I knew him. He died. Was he among the leaders of this rebellion? He was a partner of Sommin. Back then I was young. They were older than me. I was only 18 years old or 17 years old when I left Svai Kleang village. So I don't remember much. So during the rebellion, I learned many things. I remember simply how I suffered. Is it true that your father took part in this rebellion? I'd like to read out to you an excerpt of the account by Litvanat given to Isa Osman in document E3/2653, English ERN 00219-148, Khmer 009-04-326-327, and there is no French translation, so therefore I'm going to read out the excerpt in English. This is the second paragraph for the interpreters. So this is what Letvanapta says.
Villagers could not longer tolerate the situation and rebelled. I incited this in all the villages of Krokshmar district, not just at Zweikling. We met in secret, and organizing each meeting was a real core. We fixed the date for the uprising to be on the Raya holiday. But even before that day arrived, the people of Kopal could no longer tolerate the Khmer Rouge's ever-increasing pressure on Islam. So Kopal rebelled first. 3 Kopal villagers, Min, Rani, and Haji Mit, were my agents. All 3 died in the uprising. While the Khmer Rouge had their hands full suppressing Kopal, we rebelled in support of them. Fin de citation. Ma première question.
So my first question is the following. Do you remember if your father partook in secret meetings during that period? That is to say, before the rebellion in Svai Kliang?
ខ្ញុំអត់បានចាំទេខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងតែរឿងដែលគេប្រជុំគេអីខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងទេដឹងតែពេលថ្ងៃបះបោឪពុកខ្ញុំកាន់កាវិតកាន់ទៅ
Don't remember, and I was not aware of this meeting. I simply know that on the day of the rebellion, my father took his machete to go fight. You were interviewed on 10 June 2000 with your husband, apparently. You were interviewed by Mr. Isa Osman. So do you remember that interview? I have forgotten everything, in fact. Because that was a long time ago. I would like to read out to you an excerpt maybe then to refresh your memory, but before that, am I correct in saying that you said that the arrests that took place in 1975 resulted from the rebellion that had just taken place in Svai Kliang? The arrests started before the rebellion, in fact. So there were successive arrests, and it is the rebellion, or the rebellion took place because of the successive arrests in 1975. But the displacement that you were subject to, you agree that it happened after the rebellion? Yes. The village was emptied of its Cham people. No one was allowed to stay behind in the village. Those who stayed behind were considered as CIA agents. You were questioned by interviewed by Mr. Isa Osman, and you gave your explanations with regard to the investigations that took place regarding who was a member of the CIA or not. And do you remember what you said regarding these investigations? My father himself was considered a CIA agent, as well as teachers, in fact. So he was accused of being part of a CIA network. Even if we had no position, they would say that we were CIA lieutenants or captains or whatever. In this document, E3/9307, French ERN 01128393, in Khmer 0004585, English 01132 And Mr. Osman's question is the following. How did they go about it to know who was a CIA member and who wasn't? And your answer was the following. They saw that we were honest and they would inquire, and then they knew they would decide. That's what they said. End of quote, free translation. So my first question is, do you know who exactly performed those inquiries? Was it at the commune level, at the district level? Who would perform those inquiries to see who was a CIA agent or not? There were people from the district security or from the commune security. And this was a secret inquiry. They did not tell this openly to the people. In fact, those who were arrested were, in their eyes, CIA agents, period. And they would then, and they were working for the commune or for the district. Well, since these inquiries were secret, and since they were not disclosed to the villagers, how did you know that sometimes they would say that such and such a person was honest? So how did you learn about these inquiries? President, please hold on. Civil party. Well, it was in the detention center that I learned of this, that this information was disclosed. So under torture, yes, they said that they were CIA members, and in fact they were innocent, but since the torturing was unbearable, all they could say was that yes, indeed, they were members of the CIA. And it was in their confessions that they implicated other people, so which led to a series of arrests. You said that these inquiries were secret. Now you're speaking about interrogations. So did you personally see people being interrogated, or is this something that you just heard about? Please hold on, civil party. I heard people say, or the district chief or the commune chief say rather, that so-and-so was a second lieutenant in the CIA, and so-and-so was a colonel. So they are the ones who relayed that information to us, and these district chiefs or these commune chiefs obtained this information from the detention centers. So how can you imagine that these people who were tortured would not give this kind of information? They were not given any food, they were starving. President. Civil party. Please compose yourself. Please concentrate so that you may understand the questions clearly. And avoid giving us long answers. This gives rise to other questions, and your answer goes beyond the scope of the question. So this does not allow the chamber to rely on your answers. So try to focus only on the question that is put to you. In your long answer, you told us that you never personally witnessed interrogations and that you only heard about them. Is that true? Answer, yes. Now I would like to bring up another point you brought up quickly yesterday. Between 3:42 and 37 seconds in the afternoon and 3:43, you spoke about people who had been arrested and who then came back to the village for 2 to 3 months and then who left again. So I didn't understand exactly which period you were speaking about. Did this happen in 1975? Was it in 1975 that these people were arrested and then came back to the village for 2 to 3 months? I didn't say that. I never said anything like that. So, well, then I'm only speaking about what you said yesterday before the chamber. So maybe in order to make things clearer, I will read out the excerpt that I am focusing on now. You say, and you are speaking, I believe, about 1975, and you said that, and the Cham who were arrested never came back. Only a few, or maybe 1 or 2 came back, and they came back to the village, and they couldn't stay more than 2 to 3 months, and then they had to leave. End of quote. Free translation. So, does this refresh your memory? And can you tell us which people you're speaking about, and if you are speaking about 1975? Yes, it was in 1975. In fact, we're speaking here about people who had committed minor offenses. So 2 of the prisoners were released. It was Ha and Kam. And after a month, they died because died of illness. Yesterday, you did not say that. Yesterday, you said that they had gone elsewhere. So what's the true story? I only remember what I just said, and I always said that in 1975, these 2 people who had been among the people who were arrested came back, and I saw them. It was Ha and Tam. I don't remember that very well because that was a long time ago, but they became sick in the prison, and when they were released, they were so weak that they died, and the security center said that these were good people. That's why they were released, but then they became sick, and then they died. That's what I know. said then afterwards they had to leave. So who were you speaking about if you were not speaking about these two people? I don't remember having said that. I don't remember speaking about who came back to the village and who left. Fine. Well, now I'm going to turn to another point. I will speak now about 1978 and the arrest that you were subjected to. And you said that you had been arrested. So do we agree that when you were arrested and brought to Tri, you at Sakrache when that happened? And for the interpreters, I apologize for my poor accent. This is number 6 on the list that I gave to the interpreters. Sakrache. Well, back then, we were grouped together. My mother, my grandmother, my sisters were grouped together at Sakprache Kandal village, where we were redeployed to different places. Some were sent to the boats in Krochma, and the women were sent to Trier. So you were in that particular place then. So my question is, do you remember the figure of young women who were arrested at the same time as you when you were interviewed by Mr. Isa Osman?
No, there were many of them, hundreds. Let me refresh your memory, and it is document E3/9307, French ERN 0112-8401, ERN in English 011-32-815, ERN in Khmer 000-45906. This is a question that was put to you by Mr. Osman. What means of locomotion did they use to take you to the village of Trier? And your answer was as follows. We traveled on foot. There were about 40 female children. All of us were unmarried. They ordered us to reach Trier village at 7 a.m. or 8 a.m. We arrived in Trier village at 17 hours or 18 hours. When we arrived there, it was drizzling at 18 hours, and we were extremely exhausted because we had not eaten anything all day whilst we were sleeping. Taor, who was on the district committee, and 3 men came to wake us up. Mr. Osman continues, let me interrupt you a bit. Were those 40 female children from Kisach Prache village or other places? And your answer was as follows. Those 40 female children were among us. We are all alive. End of quote. I'll press on and ask the next question. I mean, had those 40 female children been collected from the other places? Your answer was as follows. No, they hadn't. They were all from Kisach Prache village, end of quote. Part of it was free translation. So my question to you is as follows. Today, you say that there were hundreds of people who were arrested. In 2000, when you were interviewed by Mr. Isa Osman, you said that there were 40 people. Yesterday, I understood your answer to the international co-prosecutor that you mentioned approximately 300 persons. Which is the right figure and which is the correct version?
Allow me to respond to your question. There are true statements. When I was interviewed, I referred to my group, and there were about 40 of us. And then there were others coming from other areas, from Sawi village, from Pah village, for instance. They all came to that house, and the house was fully crowded with all the women, and it is my estimate that there were between 200 to 300 people. And the number of 40 I refer to our groups that is from Ksache village.
Alors pourquoi lorsque Monsieur Osman
Why then did you answer his question whether people were sent to other places? You said no one else was sent to another location. That is what you told him in answer to that question. Why did you do so?
President, Madam Civil Party, please observe the microphone. Civil Party. I was asked during my interview about the number of women in my village, and later on I recall about other Cham women who came from other villages besides my group, and who all came to that house. They came from Pah number 1, Pah number 2, and Kpop, in addition to us from Ksache village.
à quel moment est-ce que vous avez vu arriver
When did you see those women arrive from other places, that is, other than your village?
No.
They came almost at the same time, because we saw them when we were there at the house, and we were instructed to go up onto the house. And that happened at around 6 or 7 p.m. and it was raining that night.
Donc si je comprends bien,
So, if I understand you correctly, the 200 to 300 women you refer to were all housed in the same building. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. They were all placed within the same house.
quand vous êtes arrivé, est-ce qu'il y a
When you arrived, were there already women in that building?
No, there was none.
Donc si je comprends bien, les femmes, votre groupe de femmes venant de votre village
How many women from your village and from other villages assembled before entering the house? Did they assemble before getting into the house? And if yes, where?
កន្លែង
The gathering point was at Ksache village. And when we arrived at Tria village, we saw other women from other villages and who arrived there as well. They came from Pah number 1, Pah number 2, for example.
Je n'ai pas bien compris. Le point de rassemblement était à quel endroit?
I haven't quite understood what you said. Where exactly did they assemble? Did they gather? That is with the women from the other villages?
នឹងថាមក
My group of 40 from Ksat Procheh Le village was gathered up. And then when we arrived in Trier village, I saw other women who were present there at the office of the Khmer Rouge. And they came from other villages, as I stated earlier, Pah number 1, Pah number 2, and Kpop and Swai Kleng and Krochma.
សត្វនារី
And they were all women.
Est-ce que vous pouvez décrire la
Can you describe the house in which you were all housed? The size of the house? Was it a story building? And can you also describe where you were gathered, where you assembled? Please be more precise.
The house was a roof-tiled house, and the house was about 7 meters by 12 meters in size.
Est-ce que c'était une maison qui était construite au sol ou est-ce qu'elle était sur pilotis?
Was that house built on the ground or it was on stilts?
President Civil Party, please observe the microphone. Civil Party, of course, the house were built on pillars. It's like a similar house at the present times. They were built not on the ground, but on concrete pillars.
3 ខ្នងបដាយប្រហែល2
And as I said, the surface was about 12 meters long and 7 meters wide, so it was a huge house.
Vous avez indiqué que vous avez...
You stated that you were assembled. Were all the women assembled at the same location, in the same building?
We were all put into the same house.
Est-ce qu'il y avait plusieurs pièces dans cette maison? Est-ce que...
Were there several rooms in that house or only one room?
It seemed that it was an open floor and there was no room partition. And that house was close to their office.
Et est-ce qu'il y avait des murs?
Did that house have walls?
Of course, it had wooden side walls. However, within the house, there was no room partition.
Donc, ce que vous êtes en train de dire...
So what you're telling the chamber is that in that house, which was 12 by 7 meters, there were about 200 to 300 of you housed in a single room. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Et vous avez indiqué qu'il y avait monsieur le
You said that the head of the district was present alongside two other persons. Was that the only person in charge of keeping an eye on you, that group of 200 to 300 women?
Yes, that is correct. When we were on the house, I fell asleep a bit, and then he came and he asked us to be tied. That's what he said. He requested us to be tied because he's concerned that some of us might be fleeing. And after we all had been tied, then he questioned each one of us. They put questions to those women who were a charm and who came from other villages. So everyone who said that she was charm would be taken off the house, escorted by a soldier who was armed with a folded but AK-47 rifle and a long knife. President interrupts. Please limit your response to the question, since you already made this statement earlier.
Donc, si je comprends bien,
So if I understand your testimony, the two people who accompanied Or in tying up the 300 girls in your group, it was Or who interrogated the 300 young girls as well? Was he the one who interrogated them?
Yeah.
Yes, he interrogated everyone in the house, and there were about 300 of us. Let me give you that estimate. So they questioned those women from other villages, and then it came to my group, and within my group I was the one who was questioned first, and I responded at the first go that I was a Khmer girl. Then they used a torch to light up my face and accused me of being a Vietnamese girl. I still insisted that I was a Khmer girl, and after the third round they accepted it. And then the rest of the group said they were Khmer women too. And as I said, there were about between 30 to 40 of us in the group.
il y avait 30 ou 40 qui ont dit qu'elles étaient
30 to 40 of you said they were Khmer, and the rest said they were Cham. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Je voudrais savoir quand vous étiez à
When you were at Sech Prache, can you tell us who arrested you?
There were soldiers who went around gathering us, the Cham people, in Sacha Prachaha village, and then they escorted us when we were asked to march.
Donc ça veut dire qu'à ce moment-là,
Which means that at the time they knew you were Cham. Isn't that correct?
Madam Civil Party, please observe the microphone, says the President. And the village chief told the soldiers that we were jammed, and then the soldiers came to instruct us that we had to be relocated.
Qui a fait le chemin pour vous accompagner?
Who accompanied you from your village on foot? Was that the same soldier?
The soldiers escorted us. They were armed.
Donc ce sont les mêmes soldats qui vous ont arrêté, qui vous ont également amené jusqu'à Trier.
It was the same soldiers who arrested you, who took you to Priya. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Est-ce qu'ils sont ensuite restés pour vous suivre?
Did they subsequently stay with you to keep an eye on you, or they gave you over to the other soldiers who were stationed there to keep an eye on you?
They were the only group under the instruction of the district chief.
Donc ce sont les mêmes soldats qui vous ont...
So it was the same soldiers who arrested you, who subsequently took you to Priya, and who remained there to keep an eye on you. Is that your testimony?
ចា
Yes, that is correct.
Alors je ne comprends pas bien la suite, Madame.
I do not quite understand what happened thereafter. Madam, if it is the same people who arrested you because you were Cham and they accompanied you on foot, and they would subsequently questioned you and asked you whether you were Vietnamese or not, I do not see any logic in what you're saying, because from what you have stated, they should have known from the very outset that you were Cham.
President, Madam Civil Party, please hold on. And the National Lead Co-Lawyer for Civil Parties, you have the floor. Thank you, Mr. President. The Civil Party knows that never testifies that it was the same group of soldiers who questioned her. She stated that it was the district chief and together with 2 or 3 of his messengers who questioned her. Thank you. And the Deputy Co-Prosecutor, would you like to have a floor?
No, thank you, Mr. President. That was my point as well.
Je reformule ma question.
I will rephrase my question. Madam, you said that from the village you were arrested because you were Cham, and that soldiers came to fetch you, and they knew that you were Cham, and they were the same soldiers who accompanied you to Priya village. How come then that they questioned you as to whether you were Cham or Vietnamese? Since that is what you stated, they first asked you whether you were Vietnamese or not. They said they were not sure that you were Vietnamese.
It was the district chief who went up to the house and questioned us. The soldiers actually escorted the district chief but did not go up onto the house. And his purpose was to make sure that there was no mistake in bringing along Khmer women. And that's why he questioned each one of us. And later on, after we were untied, he said that we were lucky that it's because of him asking questions that we survived because we were Khmer. But that was not the case. We told him lies. We told him that we were Khmer, although we were not Khmer. But at that time, we spoke the Khmer language without any accent at all.
Une clarification.
Just one clarification. You said he came up alone to put questions to you and that the other soldiers didn't accompany him. Which soldiers are you referring to? Are you referring to those who accompanied you on foot or his assistants?
The soldiers actually accompanied him to the house, but it was the district chief who solely questioned us. The soldiers only accompanied him together with a man who actually carried a rope, a hammock rope. Ho himself actually asked the question, and he asked me whether I was a Khmer or Cham person. And I said I was a Khmer person, and then he used a torch to light up my face and accused me of being a Vietnamese person. And I insisted that no, I was not. I said I was Khmer, and he accepted it, and then the rest of the women in the group followed my answer. They said that they were Khmer, and for that reason we all survived.
Donc si je comprends bien,
So if I understand you correctly, it was only the group of women from your village who said they were Khmer. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
et elles ont toutes survécu, c'est bien.
And they all survived. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. However, now I am not sure how many are still alive, as some died from illnesses or natural cause, or they might have lived elsewhere.
Est-ce que vous vous souvenez du nom de certaines...
Do you remember the names of some of the young women who were with you in your group?
I recall Saw, and at the time she said her name was Ryan, that is a Khmer name. And then there were Saron and Sari, whose real name is Tijong, and who actually passed away. And then there were other women whose names I cannot recall now. And Saron actually left the village later on, and I don't know where she lives.
Est-ce que le nom de Ahmed Sophia...
Does the name Ahmed Sophia ring a bell?
No, it doesn't.
Je vous dis ça parce que...
I say so because when you were questioned by Isa Osman and he put questions regarding the names of persons who were with you, and he also interviewed a person called Ahmad Sophia, and I would refer you to document E3/2653, ERN in English 00219244, which corresponds to the footnotes of the book titled Survival Stories from the Villages, and it's footnote 104 and 105. And in these footnotes, Mr. Isa Osman refers to your statement before DCCAM E3/933, in which you refer to the name of Sophia. He also refers to the statement E3/7747 of Ahmad Sophia, in which she makes mention of your name, Satas, as being among the young women in her group. Does that refresh your memory?
No, it doesn't. I cannot recall that name. I completely forget it. But I apologize, Mr. President. I think maybe certain names are not interpreted into Khmer. I would like to request for the defense team to repeat those names again.
J'ai évoqué
I made mention of the names Ahmad Sophia,
I think that is clear enough, and Defense Counsel, you may proceed.
donc encore une fois, est-ce que
So once again, does the name Amat Sophia ring a bell, remind you of something? And I'm referring here not only to your answers to Mr. Isa Osman, but also to the statements of Amat Sophia to Isa Osman, who speaks about your presence.
Are you talking about Ahmad Sophia, not Ahmad Sophia? Ahmad Sophia is living in Ksach Procheh Kandal. President is Sophias, that is the name.
est-ce que vous confirmez qu'elle est...
Can you confirm that
So are you clear now, Madam Civil Party? Mat Safia, that is probably a proper pronunciation of her name. Do you know this woman? Answer: yes, Sophie, yes, I know that woman. She was with me at the time.
Et vous...
And can you confirm that she was with you when you were arrested in your village, that she was with you when you went to Trier, and that she was with you in the house in Trier when you were interrogated? Is that the case?
Yes, that is correct. We were together, and she's my friend.
I put a certain number of questions to you regarding the number of people who apparently were in this house. Because I have a document before me, which is an excerpt of Ukuba from Isa Osman E3/1822, and there's only an English version, ERN 000784554. And this is what he says regarding this event in Trier. And I will quote in English.
As one example, in late 1978, the Khmer Rouge gathered all those accused of crimes, both Cham and Khmer, into her house in Tri Village, Krokchmar district, Kampong Cham province. All the prisoners were asked one question, Cham or Khmer. Those answering Cham were sent to one side and the Khmer to the other. All the Khmer prisoners were released. All but 6 of the approximately 100 Cham prisoners disappeared. The 6, Nosata, Sleyan, Slesara, Maomai Som, Tamluk, and Hamad Sophia, survived because they lied and said they were Khmer. Fin de citation. Est-ce que
So, do you still stand by what you said, that you were 3 women in this house?
ចាមែន
Yes. Mr. President, I see that I'm running out of time and I haven't finished, and I have an important point to bring up. And I also know that the civil party must make her statement of suffering. So is it possible, therefore, to be granted 10 or 15 more minutes so that I can finish with my questions? Yes, so I need 10 or 15 minutes to finish. I have important points to discuss. And I don't know if you would like me to take these 10 or 15 minutes now, or if we can do so after the lunch break, which would, of course, allow the civil party to rest. So I will leave it up to your discretion. And I will let you decide when I can finish with my questions. The chamber grants your request. The time, however, has come to break for lunch. So you can continue with your questions after the lunch break. Ms. Nosatas, your statement has not yet come to an end. We will still need 15 to 20 minutes to finish. So we will resume this afternoon. The chamber will resume at 1:30. Court officer, please do what is necessary so that the civil party can rest during the break. And please escort her back to the courtroom at 1:30. Security guard, can you bring the accused back to the holding cell, and bring them back to the courtroom at 1:30. Thank you.